5 major state-owned Chinese companies are about to delist from the New York Stock Exchange. China's regulator says it's by choice, but an ongoing U.S. China debate may suggest otherwise. Some officials say investment company BlackRock is putting climate issues at the top of its agenda, even above making profit for U.S. pension funds. Beijing has stopped talking about its economic goals for the year, hinting at a worsening Chinese economy, and the problem is spilling over into the job market. And the U.S., Indonesia, and some allies held a joint military exercise. China condemned the drills as looking for conflict, while a top U.S. admiral said the opposite. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. In a rare move, 5 major Chinese state-owned companies will delist from the New York Stock Exchange. The announcement came Friday. The companies include oil giant Sinopec, China Life Insurance, Aluminum Corporation of China, PetroChina, and Sinopec Shanghai Petrochemical. Each of them said that they would apply to delist this month. The 5 companies were flagged by the U.S. securities regulator as failing to meet auditing standards. While China's regulator cited U.S. scrutiny for the move, but said the companies decided to delist for their own business considerations. Washington has long demanded complete access to the books of Chinese companies listed in the U.S., but Beijing has refused to allow it, citing national security reasons. Chinese companies that don't comply face getting ousted from U.S. exchanges. More than 270 companies are at risk of delisting. Some of them are China's largest companies, including e-commerce giants Alibaba and JD.com and search engine company Baidu. China's latest COVID-19 lockdown orders have hit the home of the world's largest wholesale market, Yiwu. The eastern Chinese city may not sound familiar, but if you buy things made in China, it might be closer than you think. From zippers to Christmas decorations, Yiwu produces an estimated 60% of the world's cheap consumable goods. But on Thursday, local authorities imposed a 3-day lockdown to contain a recent COVID-19 outbreak. Factories were forced to shut down unless they produced medical supplies or other necessities, though some factories were allowed to continue operations under the conditions of so-called closed-loop production, meaning workers don't leave the factory. Under the model, employees eat, sleep, and virtually live inside their place of work. Commercial activities like wholesale markets and restaurants were also suspended, and restrictions were placed on vehicles going in and out of the city. Before the pandemic, Yiwu's products were exported to more than 200 countries, and more than 10,000 foreign businessmen visited the city every week. Some areas of Tibet's capital, Lhasa, are currently under static management after the city reported 18 positive COVID-19 cases in the area. Lhasa launched citywide virus testing on Monday. The city has temporarily closed its public recreation facilities. Its scenic spots like the Potala Palace, Nobulinka, and the Tibet Museum also suspended services from Tuesday. Residents from low-risk areas can move across the city with a negative test report taken within 48 hours.
Our cleaners have bought some emergency disinfection materials. We have done comprehensive disinfection work in public areas, such as corridors and elevators.
On Sunday, Tibet reported 22 infections, marking an end to the region's 920-day record of no new cases. Vehicles swept away by flash floods, and 5 construction workers reported missing. Heavy rain in northern China's Shanxi province is causing major damages. That's according to a report from Chinese state broadcaster CCTV on Friday. The storm began on Wednesday at 10 p.m. and lasted until 11 a.m. the next morning. China News Service called it the heaviest downpour the region has seen this year. A local business owner said he had never seen such severe flooding in his life, with floodwaters rising to over 3 feet. He said mud, sand, and water have drenched his shop, and that it may take days of work and heavy equipment to clean. Authorities have activated flood emergency response protocol. It's still unknown if the storm caused casualties. Graduation equals job loss. That's a popular saying in China, and an especially true one in this year's COVID-19 struck labor market. It's getting so bad that Beijing says it will no longer be able to hit its annual economic goals. Let's zoom in.
Liu Chen is looking for a job armed with her new master's degree. She said 2 employers interviewed her, but later told her the positions she applied for had been eliminated. Others asked her to take lower pay. She is one of 11 million new Chinese graduates desperate for work, as China's COVID-19 control policies force factories, restaurants, and other employers to close. As for surviving companies, they're cutting job positions and wages.
From the moment I started looking for a job, I felt as if my future were smashed by a machine, and I don't know if I can piece it together.
According to the China Institute for Employment Research, as well as job hunting website Jiaopin.com, there were almost 2 graduates competing for every job opening from April to June. That figure is up from 1.4 the previous year. But the simple fact that Chinese graduates are struggling in their search for jobs is politically sensitive this year, as Communist Party leader Xi Jinping has his eyes set on extending his time in power. China's labor market has been disrupted by periodic week-long or even month-long lockdowns, especially in the country's industrial centers like Beijing and Shanghai.
Uncertainty in the labor market may even increase. So for university students, the most important thing is the ability to adapt.
Zhang said companies are slashing hiring needs due to what he called a life-saving mindset. They're doing what they need to survive. Compared with an average of 5.5% for all ages, people aged 24 or younger endured an official unemployment rate of almost 20% in June. And that number gets worse when taking the latest graduates into account. Back in March, China's Premier Li Keqiang set a goal: create 13 million new jobs this year, and said 16 million people were expected to be looking for work. But he didn't say how many people would lose their jobs due to business shutdowns. According to a survey conducted by China's largest community-based recruitment site, Leipin, 1/3 of Chinese companies surveyed said they plan to hire fewer fresh graduates. Around 1/4 of the companies surveyed said they would hire more, though most of them are state-owned enterprises. China's severe pandemic control policies have caused severe economic losses across the country. It's to the point where the Chinese Communist Party has stopped talking about the possibility of hitting this year's growth target.
Amid growing China threats, the U.S. and its Indo-Pacific allies held their largest joint military exercises ever, sending troops toward water, land, and sky. Over 5,000 soldiers participated.
The U.S. and Indonesia held annual joint combat exercises Friday on Indonesia's Sumatra Island after signs of growing maritime activity by China in the Indo-Pacific. Over 5,000 soldiers joined this year's exercises, making them the largest since the drills were established in 2009. The troops came from the U.S., Indonesia, Australia, Japan, and Singapore. The joint drills began early this month in Indonesia, though China sees the expanded drills as a threat. Chinese state media have accused the U.S. of building an Indo-Pacific alliance, saying Washington wants to provoke conflict. But the U.S. Indo-Pacific commander says threats are what the U.S. is trying to avoid.
The destabilizing actions by the PRC as it applied to the threatening activities and actions against Taiwan is exactly what we are trying to avoid. And I can tell you from my seat, I spend every waking minute doing everything to ensure we are preventing conflict in the region. And that is my commitment to all of my partners. Every day we try to prevent war.
Aquilino said the realistic training prepares the allies to come together in case of a crisis.
Again, our desire is to build our relationships, build our interoperability, and be ready should we need to respond to any contingency.
As the drills went on, Chinese state-run broadcaster CCTV aired footage of live fire drills recently conducted in the South China Sea and the Xinjiang region. Beijing said on Wednesday it had completed various tasks around Taiwan, but would continue regular patrols. Angered by U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taipei last week, China extended its largest ever military exercises in the waters surrounding the self-ruled island.
That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for more than a year. Here's what to look out for in our second half. A large-scale cyber attack from China alongside the U.S. House Speaker's Taiwan visit. We look at how it impacted everyday life on the island. And U.S. pension funds invested in Chinese companies may be unknowingly supporting Beijing's military. Frank Gaffney, Vice Chairman of Committee on the Present-Endangered China, breaks it down. The full episode is available on our partner platform, AppBox TV. To sign up, click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer, and see you tomorrow.
Presenting the heritage of traditional Chinese martial arts, promoting martial ethics, and reviving the true tradition. The 2022 NTD International Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition preliminaries will be held in New York and Taiwan. On August 28th, the finals will be broadcast live online worldwide. Registration hotline 188-477-9228. For more information, please visit martialarts.ntdtv.com.